Well, welcome. You are here for the 53.1 in your Radiance as a wisdom bringer. So I'm so excited. And to hear all of your experiences, your life journey. You know, your radiance is your environment, your body, expanding in that environment. And well, wherever you want to start is welcome for me, because I feel a lot of expansion coming up.
Oh my gosh, yes. Like I was kind of preparing for the call of like, okay, like what do I want to talk about? And then I was just like thinking, I'm like, my whole life is like a constant evolution. Like I want to say like every year, every few months, like there's something that like intuitively comes that's like, okay, it's time to level up. It's time to move up. It's time to evolve. So yeah. So should I just start where
I feel like your journey of becoming aware of that expansion, maybe that's a beautiful point to start, because I hear a lot of stories and I would love to hear them, because the more examples we bring, the more other people can relate to it and can go like, oh yeah, that's me as well, and it works like this, but like I said, wherever you want to start, where the awareness came for you, or when you were contemplating the 53 for yourself, how it felt for you to be acknowledged in a way. Maybe just start somewhere.
Yeah, so out of all the keys that I have in my activation sequence, and even I want to say of my whole like gene keys chart, is that it's the 53 and the 54, which are my radiance and purpose, are like home to me. Like the radiance, the evolution, it was like I think I did just like a small contemplation, but it was just like already like, okay, yeah, we understand this, just because like I said, it goes through a lot of my life. And I guess I'll kind of start with, I don't even know where to start. Let's see. So the awareness of kind of where it kind of began. So a few key points in my life were, the first one was when I was around 17. And when I was kind of contemplating this and listening to the audio from Richard about the 53, he talks about the shadow being the immaturity. And the way that I kind of loved that he explained it, and the way that really kind of sunk in with me, was kind of this idea of the Maya, right? So being stuck in kind of the victim mentality and like the fear, and just really clinging on to not wanting to evolve, right? And that's kind of how I saw it. So back when I was, I don't even know, I think I was like 17, I grew up in a religious family, LDS Mormon religion. And it was very much kind of forced onto me. It was kind of like the law in the household. And from a young age, like really back down to like age 8, I knew that it wasn't my path, but I kind of went along with it because that's kind of what we do as children. And then, yeah, at age 17, I decided to break away. And that was kind of the moment of where it was like, okay, it's time for me to go into my own internal path and my own internal spiritual evolution, which is what I see this key being more and more about. So that was kind of like the first thing. I was still kind of, I was diving into Buddhism and like Toltec wisdom, and just really getting deeper and deeper into these like more mindfulness concepts and spirituality. But all the while I was working a full-time job, a part-time job, and then going to school part-time. This was after I graduated. And so I was still, I would say, really stuck in the Maya or the Matrix, not really following my soul's path. And I'm also a projector, so working that much, it's just like I look back and I'm like, what?
Completely open sacral. You have nothing there. So
I was just like taking it from everybody. And I was living in a city at the time, and it was just, yeah, it was fun, but part of my journey. But then what ended up happening was I was starting to, at age 19, I was going to move in with a boyfriend that I had. I was going to buy a house. And I just like had this kind of intuitive moment of like, okay, like let's step back. Let me look and kind of tune in with myself. And then I asked myself, what was the one thing that I wanted to do when I was in high school, right? You know, we always have like these dreams of like, when I graduate, I'm going to do this. And mine was to travel to Italy and to learn Italian. Ooh. And so it was this, I mean, I have in astrology, my ascendant is Sagittarius, and Sagittarius, I just love it. It's the nomad, the one that just kind of travels and experiences and learns from the experiences. And so I completely changed my life and my path, and I went down to one job. I moved back in with family and started to save to become a traveler, which I did. So that took a little bit, but I did end up traveling to like 14 different countries all by myself. And that was a part of the evolution. It was just synchronicity after synchronicity. The universe was just like, this is where you need to go. This is what you need to do. And out of every living situation that I've had, I'm 28 now, being a nomad was like where I felt like I was more in tune with like my strategy and my authority, because yeah, you kind of have to be. You're just like flowing in the wind, being like fully feminine and just following those little signs, those little hints. And I loved it. But then I'll just dive into this, and then we can kind of go somewhere else. Because like I said, I could talk for like an hour of evolution stuff.
Perfect.
But what ended up happening was I traveled, I came back, got into a job that was working me like 50 hours a week. It was not aligned. And then I just decided, okay, it's time to evolve again. Let me sell everything I own and just travel again and figure it out. And then that left me broken, homeless in a foreign country. So, I mean, it was in Bali, so it wasn't the worst place to be. It was beautiful. Yeah. But in its own way. But what ended up happening was I then again felt this natural impulse, and what I like to call, I don't know if it's like I know with human design, the gate is about like new beginnings, right? Yeah. So it's that impulse to start anew. Same with like the evolution part. So I realized I needed to start a business because that seemed like the most logical way to get out of the situation that I was in. And it was really cool because I had this moment of looking at one of my goals in life was to be a business owner, location independent. But it always seemed like, oh yeah, I'll do that when I'm 30. I'll do that when I'm, older. And the universe was like, no. You're doing it now. And so the one thing that I like to look at evolution is, so in this scenario, I was called to start a business. And I always look at the synchronicities in my life that come up that point me into certain directions. And with this business, I literally, 95% of the people that I met in Bali were online coaches. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to be a coach, because this was back probably like 2014, 2015, but my mom actually was a virtual assistant for online coaches for like 5 years prior. And so it's kind of been in my world, and I was like, I love Tony Robbins, like this would be awesome. But I like to say, like, when you have this like impulse for like growth and evolution, in my experience, I see it as like this path or this road that kind of splits into two ways. And it's like, okay, you agree to this evolution, then there's the logical path, right? The logical evolution, the one that's usually more settling into the fear of like, okay, I'm going to be secure. And then the other one that makes no logical sense and is just like crazy. And this might be my spleen, my authority coming in. But anyway, so I didn't take the coaching route. I actually took the logical route at the time, which I'm now able to look back, because it's been about seven-ish years since that moment where I decided to become a website designer. And then that evolved to a brand designer, and then a business consultant. And then now I'm actually shifting into the coaching. So it's taken a lot longer, but it's just beautiful to look back at even if you do decide to kind of take this logical route, I feel like, to your evolution, what makes you feel more safe versus like the complete intuitive higher self pulling you into a place that you're just like, what the heck? It's still part of your journey. And like, when I'm able to look back, I'm like, I learned so much about business and so much about growth and branding and marketing, to where I can step into a place that was super fearful for me for a long time with more confidence, right? And so that's like a little bit, a little long bit of like the evolution of my life and how that key has kind of played a role. So
yeah, big part. And I love it that you bring in, I always say, like, you've got a roadmap, and all the archetypes are a team that give you the path that you need to go on. And what I am hearing, because I have your chart right in front of me, of course, I can peek a little bit. And it is, I hear your intuition, your spleen, that's your authority. You listen to it, but you also got a defined G center with a lot of activations. And I'm hearing that connection between the communication between those different centers, and you just tuning in with your 53, I feel, with your radiance, with your body, tuning in and communicating with all these parts, and they are showing you like, okay, this is the way to go. And maybe you say you took the logical route, but I also feel like inside of yourself, it's kind of the abstract way, because there's nothing logical about it, in a way that it all just kind of moves by itself. So I love it. You brought everything right in, and you're still so young and already so wise, and already knowing exactly where you need to go, and knowing that there is no good or wrong in any of your choices, is what I feel when I hear you talking. That amazes me. Wow.
Yeah, and I love that I've been kind of contemplating more on the 33, because that's what's in transit right now. And I have the channel 13 to 33, and it's all about looking at my past and bringing, not mine, but just like the stories, right? And bringing that wisdom. Yeah, exactly. And it was funny.
I was like, okay, we had to reschedule because the internet was, not good. And I still have some flickers now and then, but it's going good. But I was like, oh, wow, we're in the 33, the medicine woman. So I also have the medicine woman, and I have the 53, but in different placements. And then I was like, okay, the Akashic records, what we are bringing here for the other people is exactly what the medicine woman brings. So your stories of your going through super abundance, because I feel you made the choices, even in the deepest moments, you made a choice to choose to expand. And that way you got super abundance again, because you got a new lifestyle, you got a new job, a new way of making money in the world, and then bringing it forth here. And we're not the only one that you're bringing it to, because everyone around you that you communicate to will get your beautiful story and wisdom. So I was like, wow, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's definitely been an interesting journey, but the one thing, and like, that's why I want to say a few weeks ago, Simone did a transmission on the 53. And I asked, what does the 53 feel about being in the radiance? And she was like, oh, it loves being in the radiance. And that's exactly how I feel. Like, I feel like there's this beautiful balance. And I know it's a few other keys within my activation sequence that talk a lot about the void and the unknown. And it's been a little... my brain doesn't like that, right? So my brain's just like, we don't like to be in the unknown. That's not good. But like, my body and my soul is like, that's where we thrive. Because to me, when we shift into this place of evolution or leveling up, right? It's that void between the next thing. And it's just like so many possibilities, so much potential that's there, that's like what excites me. Like, as we're talking right now, I'm actually in the process of moving about 8 hours away from where I live.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And I was talking, there's no stress, nothing. Oh, let's do this interview. I'm moving in a few hours, but let's do the interview.
it's funny because I was talking to my husband about it, and I was packing, and I was like, oh my gosh, I just love packing. And he's like, yeah, it's kind of weird. And I'm like, but the thing about packing is that to me, you get to put everything that you own. First of all, I love to organize. It's just my thing. Put everything that you own into a box. And then it's like from this point forward, you have a blank slate. To me, there's just like nothing more exciting. But then that actually might be my evolution or that sphere, my radiance. I don't know, because what feels less exciting to me is to live in one place and have the same routine and the same things over and over again, which I know with that being in my radiance, from what I've like read from Richard and stuff like that, he talks about always constantly developing and evolving even where I live, like adding things onto the house. And I always redecorate and grow like our little patio situation and like change that every year. So it's just all these like little things that may not seem like, as big as leaving everything and traveling the world or changing directions in business, but it's just those little things that keep me excited and keep me going and still feel like I'm still evolving on the physical level. Yeah.
Always. I feel on all levels we keep expanding until the day we leave this world, I feel. And what I'm also hearing in the way that you do it daily, or that you have the 53 daily, is that of course it comes from the root. So it's kind of a pressure in your body building a momentum. But when the momentum is not there, you've kind of found a way to just release the pressure every now and then, just a little bit, like just okay, let's redecorate, because that makes it exciting again. I know I can't leave right now yet, something is coming, but it's not that moment right now, so let's do this or that. And that for you makes it comfortable to look forward to the next step, to maturity, because it goes from immaturity to maturity. And with each step or each moment that this channel or this gate opens, then it's time to take that big step. But in between, the little baby steps towards it can be as much as fun. And I don't know how you feel about that, but when you were talking, I was seeing this book, your book, and that when you write, you love to write new pages, and then comes this blank page, and you don't know yet what's coming, but you need to know there's something new you want to write. I don't know why that came up for me, but I'm just putting it out there.
Oh yeah, no, I love what you're saying, because I look back at like everything else that I do in my life. And I mean, I'm a natural creative, so I love to design. And being able to design so far for like women entrepreneurs, because that's usually who I deal with, it's exciting, it's fun, it's new. I never know what it is I'm going to design. And then bringing it back down to like my personal life. I mean, I've done tons of art, flower arrangements, like things that continuously like release that pressure. Because the one thing that also stuck from a thing that I listened to from Richard, he said that the 53 and the 54 are some of the keys that hold the most pressure for change, and they can either drive you mad or drive you into great wisdom. And it's so true. Like if I don't have something new that I'm doing or exploring, and I mean, I'm a 5-1, and then I've got my radiance in the 1 line. And it's just, like I have to consistently learning something new, growing in some way. And it's just, exactly what you said of like being able to have this new page there. And what's crazy is that I've been able to kind of trust my spleen so much that I won't know, right? But I know that something's coming, right? So, and sometimes I'll just write for the sake of writing, and then the spleen comes through as I write, and I'm like, oh, wow, perfect. So.
I just love it how you listen to the body. It's such an example for all newcomers, or even sometimes for people that are longer in it. Like, how do I listen to my own inner authority? And especially the spleen, because it has such a small inner voice and it comes once, it's like this instinctive knowing, like, poof, you know something, and then you go like, what was that? You know, and then it's gone. And you have to be really in tune to learn to listen to it and to remember what your spleen was telling you. And I'm hearing you do that. So I absolutely love it. And
yeah,
then
it's definitely, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say the spleen, it's definitely, you know, I try my best, but like you said, the spleen is, to me, it can be one of the hardest from what I've learned from the authorities, because it is that one time, and it's like a whisper. Right. and it's, to me, it's more in the body. It's definitely more in the body than it is anywhere else. And I find myself doing a lot of journaling. Like, journaling is something that really, really helps me tune into the spleen, and then being able to spend time alone. But that's also because I've got a lot of activations and the line one is like, hey, you need to kind of go inwards and alone to really be able to hear it. So yeah, so it's definitely hard, but through kind of tuning out the world, being away from other people's energies, like that's where I can kind of cultivate that relationship a little bit more with that spleen.
Well, but you didn't know that probably until you were 17, or how many years ago did you know about your human design or your gene key profile?
I want to say about 3 or 4 years. I haven't, or when I learned about it, I just learned like the surface level stuff. And then I want to say within the last 2 years, I've kind of gone down the rabbit hole and learned more. But yeah, I want to say the spleen really came out. Oh, I don't know. I would say that the spleen kind of has been with me my entire life, and I've been really good at listening to it. And that's definitely something that I can thank my parents for, because anytime my spleen came in, they supported it. Other than religion was the one thing that wasn't supported when it came to wanting to drift away. But yeah, so from a young age, I was able to always trust that. And then through travel was when it was a full lean back release. Many stories that I've been on, and then I would just listen to the spleen, and then I'd get off and I'd be in the right place. So there was just like these little things that kept on coming that really strengthened that intuition for me. But yeah. But then over the years, just once I learned about my human design, I was like, wow, okay. Well, the spleen's there. That's great. I'm glad I know what that is now.
It's got a name now.
Yep, it's got a name. And then the projector, that was a little bit, that was definitely new for me because of my completely open sacral and just being raised and around manifesting generators my entire life. So it definitely, I'd say probably within the last 3 years is when I really started to live more as a projector in the energy wise.
Yeah, so taking retreat, listening to your own medicine woman, and going back into your own space to tune in on your energy level, because of course when you're a projector, you just kind of tap in the energies of the generators and the manifesting generators, and that is awesome. But if you pull back too late, you can burn out or become tired or sick or whatever. Did you experience that also within your life's journey so far?
I'm not too sure. Okay, I'm actually going to say yes to that. So I'm like trying to think, because back my younger self was just, she was just not conscious of it, right? But looking back, I can say, so I was really into health I really started to be really into like biohacking, nutrition and stuff like that back when I was 19. And that's kind of followed me to now. But back then I was working out 7 days a week. I didn't take a rest day. I was eating a lot of nutrients. I was eating basically I was doing that for 3 years straight. And then when I traveled, I had to obviously take some time off, right, of the gym. I was kind of traveling all over Europe. And then I didn't realize how good I could feel. I didn't realize until I was forced to take that time off that my body was not doing good. Yeah. So once I traveled for like 3 to 4 months. I worked out. I mean, I'd get like little gym memberships in some places that I was staying longer and worked out maybe a few times a week just to stay active. But yeah, once I came back from that traveling experience, I drastically changed. I wasn't so strict on my nutrition. I wasn't working out as much. And I realized how much that focus, while there was so much determination and motivation and focus on that aspect, it was driven way far to one side, where I did develop like body dysmorphia and had a little bit of an eating disorder in a way that a lot of people in fitness don't talk about, right? Because we think, oh yeah, we're eating good, we're eating right. But when it becomes so obsessive, it kind of messes with your mentality a little bit. So that traveling definitely, it honestly broke me wide open to see the patterns that I had in my life that I thought were healthy, that weren't healthy. It helped me kind of rearrange what I felt was supposed to be for me in this lifetime. And kind of like my direction, of course. This is all my G. I love my G so much.
I love your G as well. Mine is open, so that's why I love people that just know where to go. No.
Yeah, my husband has an open G, so it's definitely, yeah. And I have a few friends that have open Gs, and I love you guys. I don't know how you do it, but I love you guys. But yeah, so definitely was back. Like traveling really made me take a kind of overhead look at my life and how I was working, how I was spending my time. And then I just loved being free and flowy. And so then I came back home where I was back into super big structure. And then I left again. And then that's when I was like, okay, it's time to create my own type of freedom, my own business and stuff like that. So, and then I think once I got out of kind of the matrix in a way, right? So traveled and then was like, okay, I'm going to do my own thing now. That's when I was able to really start to notice and kind of, I don't know the right word to say, but kind of change my energy and start to lean into how I naturally wanted to do it instead of what I felt around me at all times.
You do have the will center, the heart center, and that's also a motor, but it's like this small little motor, and you have to wait for divine will or whatever you want to call it, that it's calling out your energy, like this is where you can put your energy in, or this is the right way or the right path for you to put your energy in.
You there?
Yeah, I'm there.
Well, just
a storm today, but so yeah, so I kind of felt like this growing up like a child from immature to maturity, and then the initiator, when it falls, and then it initiates like, okay, if I run a little bit slower and do my own pace in my own freedom, I will get there as well, and just at my own pace, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it has been difficult being a non-energy type and learning that, because I do have a pretty defined root as well. So I've got a lot of pressure and a lot of energy. and so sometimes it's kind of hard to be like, hey, learning when to go at my own pace and not overdo it, right? So yeah, but yeah, I love my root too. And I love my 53. I love everything.
You love your whole profile. You love yourself. Of course, you've got a defined G. You love yourself. I doubt myself. I just love all these differences and hearing all the beauty in everything, like even your open, vital center, your sacral, even that, it gives you a wisdom of really tuning in what does my body need right now. And then knowing when to start, when to begin and what to begin, because you're listening to your spleen and all the other parts working together. It's so lovely. I just love everything as well now, and I'm talking to you.
I did actually, that just reminded me. So I have just the 53. I don't have the full channel. I think it's the 42. And my husband does. And it's a very fun dynamic to see, because I can sit there and I can literally create a new all the time, stuff like that, which I know is it the reactive nature of it, I think, of the 53.
Starting to get something started every time without, you know, having the energy or whatever. Yeah, then it is. Yeah.
Yeah, because I noticed even, I don't know where I heard it, but it reminded me of like when I was young and I was in a relationship. It's like when I'd get bored, I would want to start anew. And that's what I've learned was that a part of the 53 is just kind of bouncing around and not allowing things to kind of like play out, right? Mm-hmm. And so definitely now that I'm older, I kind of allow myself to wait to let the seed grow and let it bloom, and then come back in and figure out when it's time to shift, instead of just like consistently bouncing, creating all around. But with my husband being I think he's got that full channel. And I think it's the 42 that's all about knowing when to close. Yeah. And it's so much fun. I can just come up and I just like, hey, I want to like create this really cool backyard, like fun. And he's also a manifesting generator. So perfect. Vision to build things, and he's a builder. So he builds stuff for me, and he's just really good at being able to help me close projects when my energy is no longer there, if that makes sense. So I did want to bring that up because I know having that hanging gate, especially for me, is like, it's fun. It's great if we're talking about like human design wise to be able to like start things over and over, but it does take a toll when, especially being a non-energy.
Well, yeah, for you double. Yeah. I have the 53. My husband has the 42 as well. So I know exactly what you are talking about. And while he has difficulty to start new things, then I come up, well, we can start here and do this and da. But then I don't know the next step. I just know how to start things, right? And then he goes, oh, when I do this, okay, help me. And then I help him. And then I go like, no, I don't know anymore. He goes, yeah, now I know enough. And he finishes it. So I love when these two work together. So I totally understand what you are saying. And especially for you, not even having the energy, because I have a lot of energy. I'm a manifesting generator as well. So I got all this energy and pressure to finalize things, and it doesn't happen if I don't have him, right? But maybe it's beautiful to share if you can, because relationships are, I feel, the most important things for us as human beings. So I also feel like always starting anew, and maybe for you it's a little bit different because you're a projector and you need to wait for the invitation for people to invite you in sort of way. And sometimes you might just love it to make new connections, and then you feel like the energy is no longer there in the relationship or something else, or maybe even you just want to start a friendship or whatever, and you're not waiting for the invitation and you get rejection. Or can you maybe share some wisdom from that part?
Yeah.
Relationships and not knowing when to end, or
yeah. So when it comes to being a projector and waiting for the invitation, I see it as like, I mean, I don't really resonate with those words because I feel like a lot of projectors are like, so I'm just supposed to sit here, you know, when we naturally want to start things, but especially with the 53. But what I see is like, it's more about kind of coming back into ourselves, knowing ourselves and shining our light. And meaning that even on like social media or starting a business, we can always still share when it comes from us, right? It's just more so when it comes to like advice, when it comes to wanting clients, even, you know, relationships. It's just so much better if we if we just like do our own thing and we're happy, and then they invite us in. Because if not, I learned that from a young age. It's just not good as a projector. But with relationships, let me see. Yeah, so a lot of it is just basically that. It's just being just a natural, bringing your natural light out. And I'm a natural flirt, so I just kind of flirt with life and flirt with people, right? And then from there, it's just more of that intuitive pulse of just being like, ooh, I really like this person. I want to put more effort into that relationship, whether it be romantic or friendship, but doing it in a very relaxed way. And then I feel like also if we do as projectors live in that kind of way of shining our light, and we're less stepping out of control, because I feel like a lot of projectors, we all mean well, but at the end of the day, we want to give our advice, and we want to somehow, it comes off as controlling. And so being able to just focus on us and our life, and then just realizing that these people that are in our life are there to make it better, and not necessarily for us to make them better, if that's a good good way to put it.
I love it. And, that's why I'm asking, because I know I have a lot of projector friends, and, being in the BBD and Unlock Your Design, we hear this a lot of times with the projector, and then having like a gate like this, the initiator, like, how am I supposed to do that? And you just explained it so eloquently, like, just shine your light and do you. And then the invitation comes, because they go like, oh, wow, and then it attracts, and then they are open for you to beam right into their person. And then they can accept your advice and your wisdom and everything that you want to share with them. There's no need to push it on them. That's what I'm feeling that you are saying to us as advice.
Yeah, and a lot of it comes from I like to take a lot of, and it's probably my 53.1, honestly. I like to take a lot of my projector energy and actually turn it around to myself, which I know can be hard for some projectors. And I know a lot of people say that it's hard for projectors to do. But I feel like with like the evolution sphere, it really, or not the evolution sphere, wrong one. The radiance sphere, with evolution being the key, it's really about like I said, that internal growth and that spiritual growth. So when I turn a lot of that energy to myself, and I work on myself and all the things that come with that, which has been through a lot. I mean, we could go into that too. I mean, that's more like the personal, spiritual. Okay. So I'm just going to throw out the major things within my life that I've had to work through spiritually. And it was a sexual assault and a bankruptcy. I had to file bankruptcy. And then there's, of course, smaller childhood stuff, religious stuff like that. But when I was able to really kind of go within and really work on healing that and shifting my beliefs and my patterns around those experiences that I had that were trying to play out in the rest of my life, that's when I was able to return to that inner radiance, right? That inner light. And it took the pressure off me trying to be the projector over other people. So then the people in my life, my friends, my relationships, they just became fun. They just they're fun. There's no pressure. It's just, they're like my great friends, and we go, we have good times. And then I mean, it's kind of interesting that we're talking about this, because I do see I spend a lot of time internally and growing internally, that I just like to check out and be human, right? I just like to have fun and be a fun human with my friends. And then they know if they want advice or anything, I'm always there to give it to them, but it's never, yep, exactly. So yeah, but that's kind of the other part that I don't feel like I wanted to bring up, because there's so much to the evolution, especially in my radiance, that I see it a lot as being the inner radiance, and same with the projectors, just needing to reconnect with our light. And in my opinion, it saved me to turn my projectorness inwards and then be able to help people if the invitation's there, right?
Right.
So
absolutely. Yeah, just go ahead with everything you want to share. You can be silenced. I'm listening, projector, to you right now. Bring it on.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, I feel like I'm trying to think if there's anything else, but I think you mentioned something about practices and stuff that kind of has helped with this sphere, with this key. Like I mentioned before, it's a lot with journaling, and it's a lot, honestly, I want to say a lot of it came from the principles of law of attraction, which is very basic. But if we look deeper into the law of attraction, it's not only about the feeling, right? Because there's a lot of spiritual bypassing that can happen in manifestation, which So what I love is just to be able to tap into kind of what I want to create, of course, I feel like goes in line with 53, and what I want to start and what I desire. And then looking at the places where I don't feel worthy of it, the limiting beliefs and the stories that are making me feel like I can't have it. And then what's worked with me is being able to trace that back to a single or multiple moments in my life, which are usually in childhood, to where I could see where I learned it. And then in my brain, it kind of unlocks it to be like, wow, okay, well, that was a projection from somebody, right? That was somebody telling me something that's not me. Right. And so then from there, I'm able to shift it, do some affirmations and stuff like that to be able to kind of shift everything. And that's kind of what really helped me with going through completely radically changing my money mindset, and then also healing a lot from the trauma that happened. The trauma story itself is a little deeper, right? It's a lot of body work instead of like the mental work. It's a little bit of both. But yeah, that's pretty much all that's coming up for me right now around.
Yeah, I love it because you just brought in your 5-1 as well. You know, that's a projection. You project on others and others project on you, always having expectations from you, and the other way around. So you take in, you've got an open head. So everything your parents believed in or said you were supposed to be or supposed to do or whatever, that created your state of mind. And then by you experiencing life, which I feel is the 53, is really experiencing life and beginning all new experience one after another, while the in comparison the 35 is having experiences, but they can be the same experiences going in the same endeavor, but having a different outcome or trying new things out. And in the 53, it's always like really starting anew. And then you talking about kind of the deconditioning, which is so important, I feel, to all of us. If we would just decondition, you wouldn't have to know your chart. You just decondition from the limited beliefs, right? And limited beliefs keeps you away from becoming mature and staying the victim. And when you change your mindset, you can change your whole story, in which I already hear the 33 again, the medicine woman, taking your own medicine. You beam that light of your 53 inwards, and then it can radiate out again. I just love it. Yeah.
I love that, because it's what you mentioned was the 53 being with like the deconditioning, and that's like something that's which is actually the new direction of my business. Is going to be a lot on the deconditioning aspect, because I too believe, and I actually through my experiences believe that once we're able to decondition everything, and there's this beautiful quote that says, become who you were always meant to be before the world told you who to be. And so I believe when we pull all of that, all those deconditioning, all those beliefs, all the things out, that's when we come back to that, that inner radiance, that inner light. And then we can then approach life and look at life in a completely different way and a completely limitless way. And it definitely all ties in. And thank you for tying all that in to my radiance, right? Because to me, that's what I see the 53 being, is that right? Being able to go in and decondition and allow yourself to evolve and personally evolve throughout life, because you look at everything on this planet and everything is every living thing is continuously evolving. Right. So it's just, it's beautiful. It's like, we're not any different. This is my 2 in my vocation coming in. We're all united. Yes.
But yeah, and again, then I hear the superabundance coming by. This is superabundance I'm hearing in my open head. Like when we decondition and you approach life in a whole different way, then the earth is full of superabundance. You know, the feminine, the second gene key or the second door is the most receptive. You just receive life as it's supposed to be for you, and someone else with another chart, another configuration, life will bring other stuff, and it's all perfect, right?
Exactly. It really is. We won't dive into because it's in my core wound and my vocation. So there's a whole lot about the two that I could talk about.
You can share anything you feel like that is valuable to others. So I invite you.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, yeah, I feel like through the 53, it really unlocks that too. Just like you said, you know, you don't need the 53 to do it, but through the deconditioning, it makes the two a lot easier because my core wound, it's a little hard to let go and flow with life sometimes. So, but being able to make connections and seeing how just everything, every living thing just evolves over time, and that we ourselves evolve and we're meant to grow, we're meant to change. And I remember when I was young, I hated the question of like, oh, what do you want your career to be? You know, like, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I was always like, that's limiting. I'm like, because to me, I feel like we should be able to naturally, and of course, this is not everybody, right? There's someone who is young and they're like, I'm a doctor, and they just love that field and that profession for the rest of their life. But I feel like as we grow and change as humans, we're going to naturally have different things that excite us and want us to go down different roads. So it's never just, in my opinion, one path. It's just multiple.
For you, it's not.
Definitely not. Definitely not. But that's definitely, I feel like the 53, just being able to, you know, live in this beautiful place of constant evolution, living in the unknown, and finding peace with it, because it can be scary. And I know in the immaturity, it's about, or in the shadow frequency, is more clinging on to what is and being afraid to let go. Or, I mean, I know a lot of people, and it's very natural, you know, when we start to create a life and we're comfortable, we're afraid to move, even like that's scary.
Afraid of losing.
And so
losing your stability. I feel what I really feel with the 53, and I think of the immaturity, I always see this little child that needs to parent itself to become its own parents, so become its own mom and dad. And when I connect it to the two, it's like when you contract as a child, you know, you're scared, and where's my mommy, where's my daddy, they need to protect me. You're not open to receive life because you're hiding, right? And
exactly.
Yeah, but
I
you
love
have
that
this push that from your body. It says, come on, girl, you can do it. You don't need mommy and daddy. You are your mommy and daddy and the child. You're all of them.
Exactly. I love that. And I love that analogy, because that's exactly how it feels when there's times that, because I feel like it's never like, I may sound like I've gone through a lot of evolution and I've got it down, but at the same time, there's still times that immaturity arises where my life is different. I've created comfort, which is nice, and stability, which is not bad. I like it. But at the same time, there is that constant pressure to create something new and evolve and all these things. But I'll feel that part of me. It's always there in some level. Sometimes it's extreme, sometimes it's lower, of that inner child that's just like, no, I don't want to. It is super scared. But then it's parenting, like you said, reparenting yourself to be able to, I want to say, listen and hear out that inner child, right? Be able to listen to the fears, give the love to it, and say, I understand why you feel this way. It's scary. It's going to be hard, but, you know, take my hand. Let's go, you know, like, we've got this. Yeah. So, and that's happened I'm getting a little teary eyed, because it definitely has happened many, many times in my life, because I mean, by any means, I didn't just like hop on a plane and be like, cool, I'm good. You know, there's a lot of fear.
Growing up hurts, right? Oh, yeah. I also feel now suddenly when you have these children that grow too fast, they have this bone pain, right? You know about that, I think. And I kind of feel that when you're sharing this with me, I feel like this child that is growing and it has growing pains in his body, and it hurts and it's not nice and it's not comfortable, but you kind of know you have to go through it to become, to become an adult. And every child wants to be an adult. That's all we look forward to. At least that's my memory. I always wanted to become an adult. And then I was like, is this it?
And now we're wishing that we're kids again. Yeah. But I love that, because that analogy is amazing, because it's exactly what it is it's just growing pains. Right. It's that it's never going to go away. We're never going to just one day not feel that, but it's just being able to manage it, right? And making it not take the forefront. And that reminds me of a quote from Elizabeth Gilbert from one of her books. And she talks about how she never lets fear in the driver's seat. She says, fear is more than welcome to sit in the back, and tell me how it feels and which way it wants to go, but it's never taking the wheel.
I love that.
So I love that analogy, because it's like, it's okay to listen to that fear. It's okay to listen to that wounded child, right? And listen to those growing pains, but then it's coming back to your highest self or your inner guidance system, or whatever it is we want to call it, to where we let that take the wheel. Right?
Yeah, I totally understand you. I resonate totally with it as well. And I felt a question come up, like, because you felt like, or you said, you shared that it's not always comfortable to go again to another house, to move to another country, or to travel, to pack your stuff in 8 hours from now. But is there maybe a chance that there might become a moment of comfort in the uncomfortable, that you're becoming comfortable with the not knowing, with sitting in the void and not knowing what to expect? Can you give something?
Yeah, that's like my favorite. So once I kind of work through that fear, right, I listen to it, I kind of let it sink in, but then grab its hand and say, okay, we're going. It's my favorite place to be, honestly. And it's definitely something that I've kind of, with time, been okay with. Where like before, it was more of like an unconscious excitement. Like whenever I'm in there, I'm just excited because, I don't know what's coming next. And my 53 is like, we get to create whatever we want. And we just get to play around with things. But now it's just, I love being there because, it's just, to me, that's the place where, honestly, I mean, if we can come back to like the point of creation, right? There was the void, and then there was a spark, and then it was created, right? And so being able to be in that void, shifting the mentality from fear, right? Because we can be in the void and be absolutely scared and not be okay whatsoever. Or we can kind of shift and be like, okay, what's going to come out of this? And can we really just lean back and trust that whatever is going to come is going to be what's for us? And it's taken me a lot to get there, but it's definitely something. Yeah, it's definitely something that I love and that I find comfort in, because sometimes comfort for me and security for me gets a little boring. So, but that's my own personal experience.
That's a sign for you.
Yeah. Once you swim in the void many, many times, and then you always, I think it's just from practice. It's from the many different times within my life where I have been in the void and I've just swam in it and always found that the next step is always there for me, whether or not I know what it is. Mm. And so knowing that will always come is what I love, because I don't know, I'm not a person that wants my whole life planned out and put in front of me.
No, that's not you. I feel you've gained a lot of trust by daring to sit in that void, and that you learned it by step. So the first time you experienced the void, it was freakingly scary. I can imagine. And then the next time was maybe more like, okay, this happened again. Okay, what happened the last time? Oh, something good came out. Okay, I can sit a little bit longer to wait, like for the momentum to come when the void starts to crystallize and the reality becomes alive. And that you are now at a time in moment, time and space, I want to say, that you really fully trust that void, that you even can take it maybe as a pause, like, we're in the void again. So let me just sit and meditate and reflect inwards and enjoy this little moment of peace, maybe even, because, when you're always expanding and growing and starting something new, it could become so busy for you, even as a projector, that even sitting in the void is like a cool down for you to come back to yourself and to your own energy and to start something magnificent again.
I mean, that's like perfect. I love that because it really is. It's this moment of, I think it's my evolution sphere. I have 21, which is this control authority. And that's always something that's been a battle of my life is kind of making sure I'm in authority instead of control. So I like to control things in my shadow state. And that's what I also find that can happen when I'm in the void and I'm not leaning back and relaxing and trusting, is I start to control, I start to overthink, I start to plan instead of just being like, but every time I do that, it feels like this frantic energy, and it's more so, it never feels right. So like anything that I try to create in the void, it never sticks. And so it's that time of being able to just like you said, be able to relax into the void. And it really is a time of peace, because when you lean back into that trust, it's like, there's nothing to plan. No. I mean, there's nothing really take action on unless, my spleen says so or the authority says so. It's just to take the time to just be at peace with what is. And that to me, I love so much.
And that's how you took back of your control. I always feel when people want to take control, like from a mind level, they lose it. But when you sit in that void and trust the void, you kind of take control over your life again, because you are trusting that divine, whatever you want to call it, is going to come in and knock on your door and says like, it's time. And then, so your body is kind of, it is your mechanism to show you that it is in control. It is the vessel, it is the car that drives the soul and shows what life is. And your 21 wants to consciously then take control, but it can't, because the vessel is the master, I feel.
It's seriously so funny, but I love that because it's a new perspective that I never really connected the dots to. So thank you for that, because it's definitely allowing the body to just be in its own natural state and have its own kind of surrendered control in a way. Because like I mentioned, there's been many times that I've been in the void and I want to control something, and I'll call upon my 53 to start something. And then once that void is technically over, I'll look back and I'll be like, oh, wow. Yeah, we're not going to do that thing that I wanted to do in the void that I was trying to control, because the messages are within the void, right? So we get a lot. I mean, okay, we can go into this too, because I'm creative here. Because I see creativity exactly like this, is that creativity really comes in anyone who's like an artist or kind of, I mean, anyone that tries to create anything, right?
Right.
Kind of this place where you kind of sit back and you kind of tune into this void and you listen to what's there. You can see visions, you can kind of get that vision of what you want to create. And then even when you're creating, you're somewhat creating within a void, because there really is no plan. There might be some plan that you're like, okay,
comes out differently, right?
Exactly. Like, I think I want it to look this way. And then you start doing it and you just start listening to what's coming through. And then it's just something completely different.
Yeah, I'm an artist myself. I create paintings. And like you said, I just lean back. I have this blank canvas. I tune in and like, okay, which color do I feel like right now? And then I choose one color for the background and then go like, oh, maybe a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And then there's just this colored canvas. And then I go like, okay, let me just pick this color. And I just start painting and I never know what's going to come out. And when I'm finished, I go look back, oh, wow, did I do that? You know? And that is trusting the body to do its creative thing. And if I start thinking about it, for me, it feels not authentic. So that void feels like authentic, to sit just in the void and let it come through you, through the body and then outwards. And when you try to control that, it feels like a blockage to me when you do that.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's just, I feel like there's so much, especially when we're talking about like in transitions within life, within that void, that's where we can hear our soul and our body and know and tune in and understand that that knowledge and that wisdom that's within our bodies is so powerful, that that's what I trust, that I know that, I mean, this is also my G, right? Like I know anything that comes up in my life, I can move through it and I can rise above it. But it's more because of the wisdom that's here versus anything knowledge wise. And I feel like within that void, that's where we get the messages. That's where we get that creativity to be able to create the new, right? I see it as like multi-step. It's like, okay, cool. I'm feeling the impulse to start something new. Okay, and evolve. Now we're going to sit in the void and do nothing, just have the intention, right? And then just live our life and be, and then it will just one day just drop, you know, and it'll be like, okay, it will drop in the sense of like the background color, right? Like this is kind of what I'm thinking. And then the other color will come up and then the other one, right? Just like you said. So yeah, it's beautiful. The void, I feel like, doesn't get enough credit.
Exactly.
For what
Exactly. I love it that it comes up, because somehow the medicine woman that comes through us right now wants us this to be shared with all the others, because the void is something that we avoid.
In the void, yes.
Right. But when you think about the cosmos and the womb, it's all black and dark and a void, but creation comes out of that. So I
feel like that, honestly, as of right now, I feel like that's the only way creation can come, is through the void in any way. With this conversation, my mind is just it's going crazy. My projectorness is trying to connect all these dots and strategy, practicality, all these things, but I love patterns.
I just love this whole conversation, and I'm looking at the clock because you were already 1 hour and almost 10 minutes. And I promise to keep it like in the hour for people, you know. But I feel like I talk to you and hear your wisdom come through us like for hours. And you already said in the beginning, I can talk for hours. Well, I can do too. So I feel like we maybe should connect again, and for maybe some other key or something else. I don't know, but I really would like to keep the invitation open. And if not, that's also okay. Just feel into it. And I really, I have this one last question to round it up for this time. And that's, when we just sit in now for the 53 and your line 1, is there anything that your initiator wants to share that hasn't shared it before, that needs to come through the medicine woman, maybe even some wisdom or a quote or anything that comes up for you right now, so that it can share its voice? That's what came to me. Makes sense.
The thing that came up was trust. Like that was a big thing. These days, especially these days. Are you there? Okay. You kind of moved a little bit. But it's just to trust and know that I feel like it's a beautiful balance between us with setting intentions for our lives and, you know, taking and trusting in that natural impulse to change. Because I feel like since the pandemic, so many people have moved, so many people have gone inward, so many people have changed a lot, and that it's okay. I feel like we're in this society where change isn't really embraced to the level that it should be. And I feel like once we're able to kind of listen to that pulse, make that decision, that in kind of that intention of what we want to do, to just lean back and know that it's going to play out the way it's supposed to play out. And it doesn't take any effort from you to control or anything. The void is just simply being and tuning into that intuition when it arises. And yeah, and also the big key is going within, spending time alone. I feel like can really benefit anybody, regardless if they have the one line or not in that sphere or in that key. But definitely taking that void time to go within, be alone, and just trusting that the next step is always going to be right around the corner. May not be tomorrow, maybe in a week, maybe in a few months, but it'll be there. So just enjoy life.
When the time is right, that moment will be there. Yeah, right.